Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a slightly different video for you. I'm going to go through, if I had 30 minutes to practice my putting, this is exactly how I'd structure it. So we're going to run through some different drills, what I think are really important that you can get done if you've only got 30 minutes to practice, and something that I would do in that time. So let's get into it. It's currently 11:36, so half an hour from now. Let's see what we can do and improve that putting. Right, so first things first, we're going to find about a 5-6 foot putt that's pretty straight to help us start with our sort of fundamental checkovers. So start line, setup checks, and just making sure we're hitting consistent putts to begin with. So we're just going to get 4 tees, and we're going to use a chalk line as well. This is one of my go-to favorite drills right now to start a session because it's really simple, but it's also super effective. So we're just going to test this putt first to make sure that it's straight. Yeah, that's pretty good. So let's say we're only going to spend about 5 minutes doing this session here, or this station, sorry, and we're going to get chalk line just about from where we're going to putt from. So we're going to put this down here, just putting this towards the middle of the hole, and give that a little pull. So that's now marked a nice line from where I'm going to putt from to the hole. And what that's going to help me do is going to help me firstly set the ball up in the middle, and it's also going to give me a real nice visual of what that putt will look like kind of down the line. So we're just going to place 2 tees about a couple of centimeters either side of the ball here to represent our starting line gate, and you can make this kind of as wide or as narrow as you like depending on your sort of start line ability, but obviously for me we're going to make this one pretty narrow, and then we're going to get our ball here to represent where we're going to putt from, and then we're just going to mark out 2 tees either side of the putter, and this is going to help our putter path and essentially just make sure that we're delivering the putter consistently back to the ball and striking it out the middle every single time. So it's a real quite effective but easy drill to set up quite quickly, and then we're just going to hit the putts here, and hopefully they should go in if we've got this correct. Nice, that was pretty good. So as I say, we won't spend too much time on this one. We'll literally just hit, you know, half a dozen putts or so, and the goal is basically just to hole so many in a row, or get the start line correct. So making sure that you don't hit any of the tees either with your putter or the golf ball, and you can get that ball starting on the same line consistently. And once you start rolling a few down that line, it's actually a great one to improve your confidence as well, because you know that you can get into a little bit of a rhythm, bit of a flow, and it's really a kind of confidence booster to see those putts kind of consistently drop in. So yeah, that's good, really good there. 3 in a row. So let's maybe get to 5, and then we can move on to the next drill. But as I said, you know, you don't need to spend a huge amount of time here. This is really just like a kind of light warm-up, if you like. So you're not going to sweat too much on this one. It's just a case of making sure, as I say, your putter path is consistent. Oh wow, that's gone left. Okay. And it just shows you, like, sometimes you can hit a good putt, and because of what happens on the green, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go in. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, so but as I said, the point of this drill, really, my focus is making sure we don't hit any of the tees and we just get that ball starting consistently down that chalk line. And yeah, that's really the focus point here. Let's see if we can get one more and then we can move on to the next drill. Obviously, you don't, as I say, now we're on a time constraint in this session. You don't, as I say, you don't need to spend huge amounts here. It's also a great one just to highlight or identify any patterns that you do have. So maybe you could hit, say, the outer tee, for example, or you could be pushing or pulling the putts. So that's a really good fundamental kind of checkpoint to start with. Get your putter warmed up, and now let's get into the next drill. Right, okay, so we're about 5 minutes into the session after doing that first start line drill. Now we're going to move on to a hole out game and spend about 10 minutes on this. So first one we're going to do from 5, 6 and 7 foot putts from 4 different points around a hole. And basically we're just going to record how many we can hole out of 12 putts. So we're going to start here from 5 feet around this hole, then I'm going to change to a different hole, do it from 6 feet, and so on. So this is a really good one to help your holding out range from inside 10 feet. And also you can be adaptable to what distances you do this from. So you could start at 3, 4, 5 feet, you could do 4, 5, 6, or however, whatever distance you feel like you need to work on. You could even do 7, 8, 9. Obviously that's going to be a lot harder. And I would recommend actually maybe going into those different distances in different sessions, so you've got a bit of data from the shorter range putts and then the kind of mid-range hole out putts as well. So we're getting to the 5 foot here, and this one is really just about making sure you're consistent with your routine and your process, and kind of moving up a level from the first drill of start line. Now we're kind of adding in a little bit of green reading towards that as well. So let's see what we can do here. My best on this is 11 out of 12. And that's the first one missed. Okay, not a good start. The greens actually have been slightly spiked today, so they are a little bit more bumpier than usual. So I probably could have chosen a slightly better day to do this, but oh well. It's a great way to, again, just focus on trying to hit the putt and control what you can control. So, the green's always going to play a part in how the ball reacts, but as long as we're not too caught up in that, that's all that matters. Wow, okay, that's gone right. That's 0 out of 2 hold. Okay. And this is why, again, you only spend, so long doing this game, because it could drive you insane that you try and get a perfect score when it doesn't always necessarily work out that way. Oh my goodness, that's really poor. They're all doing completely different things that I think they should be doing. Okay, come on, we've got to hole at least one of these 5 footers, surely. This is really not ideal. I haven't been putting this badly on the course. He's got one. Okay, 1 out of 4 on the 5 foot. We're going to change hole and go to 6 feet now. Right, okay, so onto the 6 foot. That one's taken us about 4 minutes to do. So we're on track on time. And this is what I like about, sometimes when you have limited time in a session, you sort of end up focusing in more because you have to get a certain amount done in that time. When you're kind of here, on a little bit more of a free time, you kind of don't necessarily put in that efficient work. So I think having these kind of sessions is a great way to make it efficient and you get the most out of the session essentially. So, right, 6 feet here. It's a little right to left. Yeah, I've got this just outside the right edge. And, all I can do is trust the line and hit a good putt. And if it goes in, great. If not, we move on to the next one. Okay, nice. That's a good start on the 6-footer. And what I would say is it's worth doing, especially on this kind of drill, is potentially just making note of the putts that you miss in terms of if you push pull it, or if it's a speed issue, or if it's a green reading issue, because then you can start to really identify those patterns. And if they come up on the golf course, you know that potentially your speed could be out, or it could be a green reading thing, and that's something that you can work on for the next session. So having that awareness, I think, is really key to helping you improve. Right, this one's pretty straight here, so let's see if we can get 2 out of 2. Yes, that's good. Let's go. That's 3 in total. This one, by all accounts, should be a little left to right, and that's what it feels like. So we're going to go slightly outside the left. You'll also notice that I'm pretty consistent with my routine as well, and that's, again, a really important thing. Good. This is more like it. 3 out of 3 on the 6-footers. Okay, this one's got a little bit of a funky one to it. It's kind of through a little bit of a drainage line, so this could go anywhere actually. I've got it a hint of left to right. Just going to play it inside left, and again, just focus on getting that start line and speed. Nice. So that's a good bounce back there on the 6-footer. 4 out of 4. Last one then, on to the 7. Let's go. We're on 5 out of 9 total. 5 out of 8, sorry, total. And on to the 7-foot to finish. 1, 2. And we've spent about 8 minutes doing this drill now. So a couple of minutes left. And then we can get into another drill for the last sort of part of the session. So this is a tricky hole, kind of a cut on a bit more of a slope here. So I'm going to start above the hole here, downhill left to right, feeding that as a kind of a 1.2. We're going to play it as a quick 1, so a bit more arm bend there. So it's essentially here about half a cup outside the left. Come on then. Oh, it stayed there. Okay. Maybe a fraction too pacey. That's a 0 out of 1 on the 7. Up to this one here, uphill left to right. Again, feeling this a little left to right. So I've got that as a 2.2 braking. And again, you know, sometimes you can hit good putts and they don't go in, as we've seen, you know, in my last tournament on the clutch here, especially that final round. I hit so many good putts that I thought were going to go in and they didn't. And you know, there isn't always a reason for that. Like, it can just be they just don't go in. But that one did go in, so we are 1 out of 2 here. Come on, if I can hold these 2 to finish off, it will be quite a decent recovery after the shocking 5-foot start. Again, this is like a 2.3 right to left, so this is a really key putt here now. Come on, just start it on that line and get the speed. Yes, that's really good. Okay, last one. We are on 7, completely hold, and this will make it 8, which isn't too bad considering. Again, a little right to left, sort of 1.7. Let's see if we can get this one in, finish off this drill. Come on, good stroke. Oh, that was really nice. That's a really good one to finish with. Okay, so we got 8 out of 12, and the 5-footers were obviously the worst ones to begin with, but that's a hole out drill. Now we're going to get into a speed drill. It's 11:52, so we've just spent about 17 minutes in total, so we've got about 12 minutes left. So we're going to get into a speed game for about 7, 8, maybe 9 minutes, and this one I call leapfrog. So basically we're going to set up a tee here, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then that's going to represent the start here, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 here. So basically this is going to represent putts from 10 to 20 feet, and again, you can kind of personalize this in different distance ranges. So you could go 20 to 30 feet for example, but I would say this is the sort of magic range that you want to be really good with your speed with, because generally speaking, you're going to have majority of your putts within this 10 to 20 foot range on the golf course. So it's really important that you get the speed right here, because if you 3-putt in this range, you're going to really lose a lot of shots to your, say, playing partners and, you know, to your handicap competitors. So the idea of this game is we basically want to get the ball to finish no more than 2 foot past this ghost hole, but you can't leave it short. If you leave it short, you lose a life. And the idea then is to basically get as many as you can to stop within this range. So if I hit my ball to about here, we'll move the ghost hole to here. And then if I can get it to here, we can move it to there, and so on. So you're basically just recording how many putts it takes you to get to the end and run out of space. So if you hit one 4 foot by, you're going to be losing a lot of ground in that. So this is a really good one just to really dial in that speed control, as I said, and making sure that from this range you really are consistent with that. So this is a 10-foot putt to begin with. Doesn't necessarily have to go over the ghost hole. You could even do it without the ghost hole. I just like to do it as a marker. So, okay, that's gone a little further by. So now I'm going to move that back to here. And we go again. So obviously, if you didn't have the ghost hole, you could just leave that ball there, and your goal would be to get that ball as close to this ball without stopping short. So hope that makes sense. But yeah, it's a really, really efficient drill to dial in that speed. So now essentially this is around a 13-foot putt, and we've got to really get this in pretty tight. Again, just a little firm with it. These greens are actually quite fast today. Okay, so that's only, we're 2 to there already. We're almost out of room. And yeah, as I said, you know, depending on how efficient you are with your speed here, obviously it depends on how many attempts you go. So obviously I'm almost to the end already, which isn't great, which means if you do have the time, we could run through this again within that 30 minutes. I think that's going to be good. Okay, still a little bit of space there, so that's 3 to here. We've only got about a foot left to play with. Come on, let's see if we can really get one in close. So now this is around 18-foot putt, which, as I said, you're typically going to have a lot of this range on the golf course. But you could even do this drill as a warm-up. That's perfect. See how that's only just gone past the ghost hole? So that's a really good indication of my speed control there. And obviously when I'm playing, I'm not trying to get the ball to necessarily die at the hole. I'm trying to get it to that foot past speed. So that's 4. And then we've got basically half a foot beyond it. So come on. I think I've left it short. Have I? Yeah. Okay, so we got to 4. We lose a life. You can give yourself, I would say, give yourself a couple lives on this if you leave it short. So we got 1 more life left. That could be good. No, short again. Okay, so that's that drill there, which I got to 4 on. And as I say, I think it's a really great drill that you can personalize. As I said, you can go between 20 to 30 feet if you wanted to, and that's a great way of dialing in your speed control from that range. But as I said, this 10 to 20 foot range is the magical range. If you can get good at your speed control within this range, you're going to save yourself a lot of shots putting on the golf course. Let's get into the final drill. It's dead on 12 o'clock and we've got 5-6 minutes left of the session, and the final drill that I would say to wrap up the session you want to do is basically just combining all of the stuff that we've done together. So from 10 to 30 feet, we're just going to hit 5 putts and see how many or what score we can get as a par 2. So it's a great way, as I say, just to kind of replicate what you're faced with on the course. So let's go to this hole to start with, which is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 feet. Okay, so 18 feet. Going to go through my green reading here, feeling like a 1.2 there into like a 1.8, 1.9. So going to play that as a 2% right to left. And I would say in this drill, obviously you've got your score, but again, you want to really kind of keep track of if you leave the putt short, long, low, high, all that sort of stuff. So you really start to identify those patterns in your putting, whether you're hitting the putts too firm, or you're not hitting them hard enough, or you're pushing or pulling them. and you can then really work on those things before the golf course. So 18 feet here, a little bit right to left. Haven't quite hit it there, left it short. So I'd make a note of that. The line was good, the speed was slightly off. So that's level through 1. On to the next hole. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 25 feet. Again, it's actually pretty straight here for line, I think. Certainly feels that way. Not feeling a lot in that at all. So up the hill, I'm going to favour just slightly on the right side. I just think it's going to fall a touch to the left at the end. So 25 feet. This is a really good one that you would probably get faced with on the golf course. If you hit it into par 3, for example. And you've got to be good from this range, like speed wise. And that is not great, actually. That was a pretty poor putt, if I'm honest. Okay, so got to hold this one. Again, left that a little short, so that's something to make note of. Okay, so we get the 2 putt though. Okay, on to hole 3. Let's go for a downhiller. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Dead on 30 feet. Okay. Downhill. Hopefully we can get this one to the hole. Hole 3, still level, and we've left 2 short. So that's a real good, as I say, just a indication of a pattern that's maybe emerging there. Got a little right to left in this. And to be honest, like, I'm not expecting to hole any of these putts really. Like, you may hole one in, you know, a few, but the main focus on these ones is you're not 3-putting. And that's gone a little further left than I thought it would. Again, left it short though. So that's going to be another 2-putt for hole 3. Okay. Need to maybe give one a little bit more of a chance here. Let's go over here. Right, we literally got a couple of minutes left. So we're on track. This is another sort of 18, 19 foot putt. Hole 4. So we've got 2 more to go. So swinging a little bit more here. I'm feeling like a 2.7 left to right. So I'm going to play that as a 3. Basically, it would shadow that flag there, which is quite useful. Good. Right, come on, let's get the speed here. We've left 3 short, basically. Oh, I thought I had that one. That was a good putt, really good. And that's the magic speed that I'm looking for, like that sort of just foot past the hole. And, you know, I can't really do much more there to hit a good putt. Okay, let's finish with one of these ones. Final putt from about 12, 13 feet. Feeding this as a 1.7 left to right, so 2%. And we've got this one, yeah, about halfway up the shadow of that pin. Come on, it'd be nice if we can hold one to finish. That would be really good. I mean, even if you converted one of these in a round, you'd actually be almost gaining strokes on the PGA Tour. So you're not far off if you do that. And we finished with that. That's really nice. So 5 holes played there, par 2, finished 1 under, snuck in that 15 footer to finish, and that's basically half an hour of how to structure a putting session. So you start out with the start line drill, fundamental checkovers on your technique, getting a straight putt from 5-6 feet, getting the stroke going, getting the strike going. Then you get into a hole out game, then you get into a speed control game, and then you kind of combine it all at the end there. So for me, I really like having those shorter sessions. As I've said, it can really help you get a little bit more focused. It can make you more efficient in that time. So just because you have a limited amount of time to practice doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. So it's really important that when you do have that time, you make the most of it. And yeah, I think that's a really good little session there, even for me. So hope you enjoyed that. I'm actually going to start a little series, I think, running through the different areas of the game on this kind of structure. So next video we can do short game or some iron play stuff or whatever it is. Let me know in the comments what you want to see. But as always, appreciate the support on the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.